Hey, welcome back to the show. We're keeping it real, goes right. Welcome back to Real Take Sports Talk live here on YouTube. We've got a wonderful show planned for you. We got beef between two former and one current New York Jets head coach, Rex Ryan versus Robert Saleh, in a grudge match that I would very much love to see. We also got news from the NBA. Are the Warriors the best team in the entire Western Conference? We're also going to be talking about the New York Jets, as I mentioned, and a name change coming to Staples Center. We'll get Andrew's thoughts on that as we end an era in basketball and sports history.
Not the only era ended over there in LA. I think there's a certain somebody who might be on his way out, especially with these rule changes. He might be on his way out sooner rather than later.
Well, we'll definitely get Andrew's irrational thoughts about LeBron James and many, many more topics about sports today. But before we get to any of that, please hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also, be sure to check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Andrew, how you doing? First and foremost, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, dude. It's lonely at the top, but, I keep myself company.
Was that a reference to the Titans being number one in the AFC?
I've waited. I think I've waited. I don't think we've ever been number one in the AFC. I don't think we've ever been number one in the power rankings ever. Because I'm pretty sure in 2008 was the last time we were anything close to number one. The Giants actually edged us out.
So that's because they were like defending champions. That's why.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure my entire life we actually have never been number one.
You've always been a Bono. You've always been number two.
So it felt good. I woke up this morning. It's lonely at the top, though,
Don't worry. You'll have company. You'll have company soon enough whenever the Ravens decide to actually run the ball with one of our running backs, not named Lamar Jackson.
Listen. Yeah. You got a running back playing quarterback. We got a wide receiver playing quarterback. It's a new era of football. It really is.
It's a new era. Yes, it is. And it was, actually, Andrew. That's a great segue into our first topic. It was a new era in New York. We got beef in the Big Apple. Rex Ryan is sick of the comparisons. Rex Ryan is sick of the talk. Rex Ryan is sick of people saying that Robert Saleh is the next Rex Ryan. We're going to hear from Rex Ryan, who was on ESPN Radio and just absolutely popped off. You could tell this really got to him. Let's take a listen to what Sexy Rexy had to say.
Supposed to be a defensive guru. I heard everything, and I take it personal on this one. Everything I heard about was, well, this guy's a lot like myself, but without the bad part. Yeah, well, some of the bad part you need. And don't ever compare this guy to me, this Robert Saleh to me. Because statistically, one time they were like a top defense. All right? Here's one thing they're going to be familiar with. 4 out of 5 years, the 49ers were dead last in their division. So he's going to be dead last again. So he's used to that. So to me, I'm a little pissed off about it when I hear that this guy, his background's a lot like yours. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Quit trying to tell the New York fan base that he's going to be like me as a defensive-minded guy or whatever.
Salty Rexy right there. You heard from Rex Ryan. Just not holding back in the slightest, just going for the jugular on Robert Saleh. But hey, Robert Saleh is a big man, and he responded as well on, I believe it was the Michael Kay show. So let's take a listen to what Robert Saleh, the current coach of the New York Jets, had to say about that.
Honestly, you know what? I've never met Rex. I've never had a conversation with Rex. I don't even know him except for people who know him throughout the league. So obviously, if it's that personal for him, he knows where to find me. So,
were you surprised that he said it?
I'm not surprised by him. He's always got something to say.
Oh my God! So Robert Saleh and Rex Ryan, they're embroiled in this beef. And if you thought that wasn't enough, people, check out this tweet from the brother of Robert Saleh. David Saleh took to Twitter to say this. Rex Ryan took over a good Mangini roster. Eric Mangini, the coach before Rex Ryan, won with it the first 2 years and then lost with his own roster every year after. The only person making comparisons is you in an effort to stay relevant. Oh my God. Stick to eating cheese and burgers, clown. Oh, cheeseburgers, clown. Okay. Look, there's a lot going on, Andrew. Obviously, Rex Ryan isn't happy with people, I assume, are comparing him to Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh isn't happy with Rex Ryan basically calling him out and thinking that he's better. And David Saleh is definitely not happy. What do you make of all of this?
Well, first of all, I love it, dude. Anytime we get beef like this, I love beef like this, dude. This is between the Morris brothers going at it with the Jokic brothers, and now we got the Saleh brothers going at the Ryan bro. I love it, dude. He's not wrong though. Saleh's not wrong though, and Saleh's brother isn't wrong though. You know, as much as Rex Ryan did have that success in New York, you have to think about it from the perspective of he's not wrong. Like, he took a roster that was built by somebody else, maximized it, and then when it came time to having to rebuild his own roster, he you know, the Jets are just as bad now as they were when Rex Ryan left. So, you know, you have to think about it from that perspective. He's not wrong. And Saleh inherited, basically, he inherited what Rex Ryan essentially left, because they really haven't changed since Rex Ryan left. It's been the same Jets. They've still sucked. So Saleh is essentially trying to dig out of the hole that Rex Ryan left them in. That's a deep ass hole, though. Deep ass hole.
To quote Paul Allen, the former, I think he was like the president of the Washington football team, the culture is actually damn good, is what a lot of Jets fans were saying when after the Rex Ryan era ended. They were like, Rex Ryan, no matter how it ended, he set a culture of winning and determination. How many wins have they had since that culture of winning and determination happened, Andrew? Not many games. Not many games. Look, Rex has got a point here. Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded guy, and he was heralded as this amazing defensive guru. Since he's taken over, things have not been well. Granted, we're like, 8-9 games into the season at this point? Yeah, things are not going to be good because it's a shitty football team. The New York Jets are a bad football team with bad players on a bad defensive roster. What do you think is going to happen? And it's not like they have the offense to counteract that. The great white shark, Mike White, was only able to last for one game. Now we got Flacco in there starting, all right? So that shows you where this offense is. Defensively, they still rank at the bottom of the league, but that has to do with how bad this defense and this roster is. So I think Rex Ryan is kind of out of pocket. I don't know why he would get mad. I don't understand. You don't coach for the team anymore. It's not like you're going to get that job again. Maybe he is mad that he's not coaching. Maybe that's it. I just don't understand what incentivized Rex, other than the fact that maybe he doesn't, maybe he actually thinks that poorly of Robert Saleh. It just doesn't make sense. Why would he come out and say this?
I think he's just jealous, dude. I think he's pissed off that, Saleh took over and they thought, okay, they're bringing in a defensive coach. Remember, they just moved off of the quote unquote, the quarterback whisperer, to bring in this defensive. He's supposed to be like this defensive wonder boy, and he hasn't been. But like you were just saying before, dude, the roster, especially when it comes to the roster itself, is just not good. If you look at their draft, yeah, they drafted a lot of unheralded late round defensive players. But if you're going to set a foundation and everything like that, you can't draft 3 or 4 offensive weapons with your first 4 picks and then expect, we could just plug in 6th and 7th rounders on the defense and expect it to gel right away. You can't even, you know what I'm saying? Even when he was in San Francisco, yeah, they might have finished last in that division, but look at the offensive guys he's going up against in that division too. You got Kyler Murray. McVay, he's got a game plan against McVay and Russell Wilson. So it's not like he was going up against bad offensive coaches or bad quarterback. He was going up against explosive offenses. So you're going to give up points when you're in the NFC West, but they should have taken the approach that Matt Rule took when Matt Rule got the job at Carolina. And Carolina is still a work in progress. We get that. But Carolina, from when he took over to what they are now, they have trended upward. And it's because he made it abundantly clear when we're gonna fix this defense first. and then we're going to focus on the offense. We're going to fix the defense first, and then we're going to slowly bring in offensive pieces around it and make it gel. That's what the Jets should have done. Give this guy some weapons, dude. This guy had what? Joey Bosa or Nick, one of them. He had Joey
Nick
or
Bosa.
Nick Bosa.
He had Nick Bosa.
He had Nick Bosa. Like, he had some studs in San Francisco. Now he's got what? CJ Mosley, who hasn't even been that good this year.
He's got CJ Mosley, who basically hasn't played since he was a Raven. He's been either injured or he opted out last year because of COVID. So CJ Mosley hasn't played in a while. And I kind of want to also get to the other point that you commented on, and Dave Saleh, the brother of Robert Saleh, also eloquently put it. He was right. Rex Ryan, but he won those first 2 years with a team that was constructed by the prior regime. Kind of like how John Gruden, everyone wants to give John Gruden so much credit for his Super Bowl victory, right, in 2003. It's the most asinine thing in the world. They won with a roster assembled by Tony Dungy. Just like the Jets won with a roster assembled by the regime that was there previously, and I believe, Eric Mangini. So, and look, and if you even look at the moves they made, what happened? They brought in Bart Scott. Like, that's not a Rex Ryan, Rex Ryan's this great defensive-minded genius. No, he took over an already really good defense and then added Bart Scott, who's at that point was a perennial Pro Bowler playing behind Ray Lewis on one of the best defenses in NFL history. Come on. No, Rex Ryan has absolutely no room to talk. This dude was set up for success, and you know what happened? He got complacent. He got lazy, and eventually his complacency and him believing his own shit led to that team imploding on itself in 2013. That's exactly what happened. That team imploded. Actually, no, it wasn't 2013. It was 2011. Yeah, 2011. That team. It was even before that. He only went to the AFC Championship game 2 years in a row. Never made the playoffs again. Went to Buffalo. Never made the playoffs there. He got fired in Buffalo, and now there's a reason he's on ESPN. You know why he's on ESPN, Andrew? Because no one wants him to fucking coach.
Can't coach.
He can't coach. And you know what? Here's the thing, man. I'm a Ravens fan. I know Rex Ryan. I know the way. Rex Ryan was a solid coordinator, but he's not even like a top 3 Ravens coordinator of all time. The Ravens have had amazing coordinators. Rex Ryan isn't a great one. I'm not gonna lie to you. Rex Ryan probably had the most amount of talent of any Ravens coordinator ever, other than maybe Marvin Lewis, to work with. And Marvin Lewis is one who basically developed the entire team that Rex Ryan would go on to coach. So, I mean, it's just, dude, it's literally the what's the old saying? The kettle calling the pot, whatever. It's Rex Ryan calling Robert Saleh Rex Ryan, which is the same thing. I don't know. He's sexy Rexy. Just shut up, man. Shut up and get your ESPN money. Come on.
The Jets are going to finish low again. What they should do is they're going to finish low again. If they have draft picks and everything like that, give this guy something to work with. Don't give him late round draft picks, because those you are really playing with fire trying to hit on those late round draft picks. Instead of drafting, draft maybe an offensive lineman here and there to protect Zach Wilson so he doesn't get fucking hurt again. And then other than that, draft a fucking corner in the first round, draft.
That has not gone well for the Jets in recent years. You remember D. Milner?
That was bad. Yes.
It was really bad.
They strike gold with Revis Island, but they really haven't struck gold with anything since then.
Well, they had Jamal Adams, and Jamal Adams, who, by the way, Andrew, historic stat here. Jamal Adams has officially tied Vince Wilfork for interceptions in his career.
I think he got his first pick this past weekend. Oh, three.
He has three. Hey, man, that's 2 more than you thought he had.
First pick is a Seahawk this past weekend, I think is what it was.
That's
dude, but give this guy a chance, dude. If you give him a chance, they're gonna have a high draft pick again. Draft a fucking defensive end. Draft a defensive end. Draft a defensive tackle. Build that defensive line. Build the offensive line, and then you could sprinkle in you could draft a wide receiver in the 6th round and make the shit work. You can't draft no fucking 7th round corner and let's draft a 7th-round corner and then put him on fucking Jalen Waddle. You can't do that.
You're not the Ravens. You're not the Ravens. You can't do that. The Ravens will just churn out like 6th-round picks will become Pro Bowlers in like 2 years and then get fat contracts and then never perform again. That's what they're known for. Sticking with the Jets real quick, we had some. It has been a wild couple of weeks for the New York Jets. So Zach Wilson goes down with an injury. We get the debut of Mike White, comes in, throws for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. People crowned him. They crowned him. Gets injured in the next game, starts the following game, throws 4 interceptions, which I guess it had to even out at some point, right, Andrew? It had to even out at some point.
It was sitting there I should have been the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah, that's probably not true. But the Jets are now going back to Joe Flacco, a quarterback who they had on their roster last year, who played relatively well given the circumstances he was in, and who probably has at least a little bit left in the tank. What do you think about this? Because, look, I made the argument that the biggest mistake the Jets made this coming into this year was the fact that they didn't have a veteran quarterback on the roster coming into this year to give Zach Wilson maybe a few weeks to kind of buy his time instead of throwing him into the fire. But instead, they had to trade a 5th-rounder to get Flacco, which, for those counting people, Joe Flacco in the past 3 years has been traded for a 4th round and a 5th-round pick, which is just crazy considering what some other players are going for these days. But hey, man, Joe's making a living. Can't hate on that. But yeah, what do you think about this move to Flacco? Is it the right one? Should they stick with him potentially, given the way their season's gone for the rest of the year?
I mean, what else could they do? They're already what? I mean, besides the Lions, I mean, they're pretty much like right there, one step above the Lions. So there's really nowhere. They can't get any lower. They can only go up from here. Might as well take a veteran who's, he's been there, he's done that, and see if he can, keep you in some games and get you some wins at this point. Zach Wilson, you don't know when you're going to see him again. Mike White, his 15 minutes is over. So
no, we're never going to see him again.
It's tragic, dude. It was like Linsanity.
No, Linsanity was much better than this. Like this was like
Linsanity was like 3 weeks. This was only 2, I think.
Yeah, no, this is one of the shortest lived like quarterback like excitement periods ever. Like you remember like who was it? It was like Nate Mullins a few years ago. Everyone was like raving about how Nate Mullins is going to be good. Gardner Minshew, actually his lasted over a year, so like you have that. I mean, but yeah, no, this was like one of the more pathetic ones. As far as Flacco on this roster and whether or not he should start, Flacco should start the rest of the season. I would deactivate Zach Wilson because here's my thing. Wilson's already come in and gotten injured once, and there have been times where he has not looked good. There have been times where he's looked rattled. But there have also been times where he looked great, as I'm sure you can attest as a Titans fan. But I think because given the roster that's assembled right now, given the fact that they can't play defense, they can't protect the quarterback, you stick with Flacco for the rest of the year. You deactivate Zach Wilson. You get him healthy. You get him. You have him read the playbook. Have him do whatever. Get him ready for next year. Go all in next year. Draft some offensive tackles to block for this man. Maybe get him a weapon or two in free agency. Spend the damn money, New York. Everyone else in your division is spending the money. But you got to stick with Flacco for the rest of the year. I think it's just the worst thing you can do to Zach Wilson at this point is, 1, get him injured twice in the same year, which they run the risk of doing, and 2, ruin his confidence. Because I've seen Zach Wilson get really shaky and rattled, and that is not a good thing for a young quarterback. You don't want to see that happen. You want your young quarterback to exude confidence, even if the team's not doing well, even if he's not doing well. Like we've seen what Trevor Lawrence is doing. I know you can say what you want about Trevor Lawrence. There have been times where he's stunk up the joint. He's absolutely stunk up the joint, but the thing is, he plays with poise all the time. No matter what, he plays with poise, and that's the thing about these young quarterbacks. If you can make the mistakes and still play with poise, you can come back and potentially get better over time. But you don't want to have that Josh Rosen effect where you just lose all confidence, because then if you lose confidence in yourself, the team's going to lose confidence in you, and that's what ruins these young quarterbacks.
I did gain some respect for Sunshine this past weekend. Watching him fumble during that what could have been the game-winning drive, and then the Colts recovered it. I did gain respect for him. The fact that he kept his head up, despite the fact that he pretty much just lost them the game on the final possession. He did keep his head up, though. So I did respect him a little bit.
This is such a guys. This has been a year and a half in the making. Andrew has never said anything this nice about Trevor Lawrence.
I did gain some respect for him. He doesn't even have that nice hair, dude. Griffin had nicer hair than him.
Big shout out to Griffin, man. He did have nicer hair than them. All the females at Catholic knew that. Anyway, guys, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Andrew, let's move on and talk about Cam. You know why? Because he's back. He's back. Yo, I've never heard someone like just yell out of tune that much. It was wild. It was a wild week in Carolina. It has been a wild week. Panthers head coach Matt Rule. I almost called him Ja Rule. Panthers. I always want to call Matt Rule Ja Rule. Is that bad to me?
I think John lives in North Carolina too now, which is even more wild.
Oh, you gotta love the coincidences. Panthers head coach Matt Rule says Cam Newton is trending in the direction to start this Sunday. He has been taking the majority of first-team reps in practice. Newton recently signed a 1-year, up to $10 million contract with the Panthers for the rest of the season. Last week, in very minimal play, he went 3 for 4 for 8 yards, a touchdown passing, and a touchdown rushing. This will be the return of Cam Newton. Basically, if he's going to start, it's going to be a return of Cam Newton in the starting lineup. It is also going to be the return of Ron Rivera. The former Panthers head coach Ron Rivera will be coaching the Washington football team. And so you're going to see a little bit of a matchup between these two those two pieces. Panthers right now in the standings are 5-5. They hold 7th place in the NFC. Still only a game and a half back from the division. Andrew, what does Cam bring to the table, and can he save the Panthers season?
Yes. You know what? It's looking up. If there's one team that is trending upward, especially in that division, first off, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is going to get it together. You look at their schedule. Tampa Bay is going to win 4 or 5 more games. They're going to win the division. Carolina's going to have to get that one of those wild card spots. And I do believe Carolina with Cam Newton, they're going to play a different style of football. They're going to play a grit and grind style of football. This is going to take a lot of that pressure off of Christian McCaffrey. He's not going to take as many hits. And they are literally going to try to run that team to the playoffs until they have to meet Kyler Murray and or Mighty Mouse, as I like to call him. I don't call him that other name anymore. Mighty Mouse and that team in Arizona, and then they're going to lose. But hey, you know what? If they get a matchup like that, this is one thing. Just shifting gears real quick, because I know somebody was talking about it. They were talking about it on the talk shows the other day. Was this new physicality, dude? Like you see in all these teams, they're going back to playing old school physical type of football.
Yeah.
I love it. That's Cam's style of football. And that's why going back to that, with a lot of how like soft and finesse some of these teams are, I not only think Cam will take Carolina to the playoffs, but if they get a soft team like Dallas, a soft defense like Dallas in the first round, I think they could go into Jerry World and pull an upset. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll get to Cam Newton specifically in a second, but you gotta talk about this Panthers team and kind of what they've been through over the past few weeks. I mean, it's just crazy what they've been through over the past few weeks. They started off 3-0. Again, they beat a lot of shitty teams, but they started off 3-0. People were talking about this team as potentially challenging the Bucs in the NFC South. That didn't happen. They fell off. Sam Darnold fell off. Christian McCaffrey obviously got injured, was out for a few weeks. And the team just went to hell in a handbasket like that. And then everyone was talking about how this is somehow the worst team in the league. And it's always baffled me that people kind of like immediately went to that like, oh, they're such a bad team now. No, they were a team that knew what they were before Christian McCaffrey got injured. A team that's going to run the ball, beat you on play action, and play lockdown defense. what happened in the weeks leading up to that? They had some injuries on defense. They lost their best defensive player for a few weeks. They lost their best offensive player for a few weeks. You know what happens when you lose your top 2 players on your team, Andrew? What tends to happen? You end up losing games because Well, we'll talk about that in a second. But you end up losing games. Most teams end up losing those games. But now they've gotten healthier. They've adjusted on defense. Run CMC is back. And now you have Cam Newton. And I agree with you in this. I think Cam Newton, he's definitely not the passer he used to be. He might not even be, as much of the runner as he used to be. He might not be as fast as he used to be. But man, oh man, there's something different in the air in Carolina with Cam back. And sometimes it's weird. Sometimes that's what these teams need, to kind of kick them in the butt and just be like, all right, cool, let's go for it. Let's just do it. Fuck it, let's do it. And I think that's what you're seeing in Carolina. You're seeing this team that was down on their luck just get a spark. And it might last for 3 weeks. It might last for 3 minutes. It might last for 3 months. We don't know, but that spark right now, you could tell last week it was there. We're going to find out this week whether or not it's there, but I do think that if they play it right, and if Cam is at least able to, if he's able to even be just like, let's say like just maybe like 50% better than he was in New England, man, like the NFC South better watch out, because with that defense, with run CMC and a reignited Panthers team, I think this is a dangerous football team. And I said it to begin the season. This was a very dangerous football team that was going to develop before our eyes throughout the season, and that's what's happening. And Cam Newton might just be part of this development. Like, look, sayonara. Sorry, Sam Darnold, but I think his what has it been, like 3 seasons? Like we know what Sam Darnold is, a good quarterback who will probably end up being a very good backup somewhere and a transitional quarterback. But Cam Newton, like on this team this year, I think he could do it. I totally think he's capable of it. And we saw the way he's able to run. We saw the way he's able to fight through tackles. You match that up with run CMC and the way this line's playing. Why can't they make the playoffs? As a 7 seed? Of course.
And then you know what happens? They get that 6 or 7 seed. You know what that means? They get that 6 or 7 seed, and they get to go to Jerry World. And we just saw this past Monday on Monday Night Football.
Easy dub.
We just saw on Monday Night Football when you have, the team, the pretty boy team with all the big names and the stars. It's not really the most physical teams. When they play a physical team that likes to run the ball, like the 49ers, like the Carolina Panthers, you see the pretty boy teams like the Dallas Cowboys and the LA Rams. They could lose a game because they're going to get punked by a team that maybe has less talent but can outmuscle them. And I could see that happening. Teams, there's one thing I've noticed about teams past couple of years. You know what they like to do? Jerry World is like MSG. Guys like to go in there and just show out. And so Jerry World has been more of a home field advantage for the away team than it has been for the Cowboys the last couple of years. So, yeah, dude, they get that 6 seed. They get that 7 seed. They go into Jerry World the first round. They got to play the Rams. They got to play, I actually think the Rams have a potential chance to overtake the Arizona Cardinals and win that division. And you got the Rams and the Cowboys has to see this Carolina Panthers team. We saw what happens when the Rams have to go up against a physical team. It's 2 weeks in a row now. The Rams played physical teams in Tennessee and Carolina, or in Tennessee and San Francisco, and they got punked. So don't be surprised if you see a team like this go up against one of those big name with all the stars, the pretty boy teams, and they beat them.
Maybe. Just a quick note, HMO Podcast is in the chat. Go give them a follow. HMO Podcast doing some really good work over there. What's up, Brooks? What's up, Dro? HMO is commenting on the fact that this live stream currently has a lot of dislikes, and I don't know what happened. We got a bunch of bots who are apparently Rex Ryan fans. Maybe Sexy Rexy didn't like what we were saying, but it's whatever, because you know why? You guys can hit that like button and help us out. Fuck the trolls. All that jazz. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Haters be hating. I ain't gonna stop. Yep. HMO Podcast is very happy for Sam. Greg Metz is here. What's up, Greg Metz? He says, "You are the king, fam. Damn kings be kings. Let's get that sauce, fam." Says Greg Metz 2345. Andrew, say what's up to Greg Metz 2345.
What's up, man?
Yep. HMO Podcast says, "Be seeing ghosts." I be seeing ghosts too. I be seeing ghosts apparently spamming my videos, trying to give me dislikes. I don't care though. You know why? Because I'm still here, and I'm going to be here next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. Real Take Sports Talk every single Wednesday night, live here on YouTube. Andrew, we're going to talk about something that it has shocked many sports fans, shocked many basketball fans now.
Yeah, dude, I was surprised when I saw this.
And,
what the hell?
and
what the hell's on this?
The wildest thing is, Drew, it has absolutely nothing to do with the game of basketball. But arguably the most shocking news of the past week, the Staples Center is getting a new name. Starting Christmas Day, the Staples Center will now be known as the Crypto.com Arena. Yes, Crypto.com has bought the naming rights of the stadium, of the arena rather, that still houses the Los Angeles Lakers, the Clippers, the Kings in the NHL, and the WNBA Sparks, in a deal, Andrew, valued at over $700 million over 20 years. It is, I think, the biggest deal, the biggest naming rights deal in the history right now of sports. What do you got to say to this? What do you got to say about this, man? What are your thoughts on the Staples Center no longer being called the Staples Center?
Honestly, I don't know how I feel about that, dude. I don't like it. I really
It's
don't
weird.
like it. I grew up with it being called the Staples Center. Mid-season too? Like, you're not even going to wait till the season to play? You're just going to, mid-season, just going to change it? Like, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's like, it's almost as if like basketball as I knew it, like, especially in LA, dude, just like too many changes. Like there's too many big time changes like that. Like the Staples Center too of all, like that, dude, that's like a big market. Like if they changed like the Milwaukee, like the Pfizer V Forum or something like that, like we wouldn't care, but this is the Staples Center. Like this is a big deal and I don't like it. I don't.
It's the weirdest thing ever because I'm not someone who gets like too what's up?
Mid-season too? Like at least wait for the season to end or something like that.
They didn't want to. They want that money, bro. It's all about that money. $700 million. I get why they did it. I mean, look, it's money makes the world go around, man. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. So I get that part, but man, going from the Staples Center, which is an iconic brand, an iconic name, and like the Staples Center, like, there's no other name for that arena. It's the Staples Center. Like when you think LA, you think, the Griffith Observatory, you think Hollywood, you think, the fucking, what's it called? The names and a Walk of Fame. And you think the Staples Center. It's an iconic part of LA and has been for almost, what has it been, like 22 years? It's been called the Staples Center. Like, it has been an icon in LA, not even sports, but LA, just the culture. And now it's changing like that. And it was such a good name. It was so iconic. It was like you went to LA to go see a game at the Staples Center. You didn't go to LA to go see a game at the Crypto.com Arena. Like, what? I mean, look, again, I get why you did it, but it's also like, man, Crypto.com?
Yeah, business is business. And it's like, I can understand like the crypto arena, crypto.com center though. Like that, I don't like that. Like the way
they want you to go to that website. They want you to go to that website.
Yeah, I won't.
You won't?
Yeah, I won't.
How do you think this is going to affect the Lakers? if any way at all?
I don't know. Like I guess the Lakers needed something like to be in the news with all the losing they've been doing. There's got to be, something. Maybe this takes the heat off of Westbrook. I don't know.
That's a good question. Is Russell Westbrook the problem in LA?
He's one of them. He's not the problem, dude. I think the problem with the Lakers, TBH, is the league with the way the league is, like, a lot of people have said it's a cardio league. Like, pundits have said it's a cardio league. Like, radio, all these people have said it's a cardio league. I would agree. It is more of a cardio league because they're trying to take the physicality out. Although with some of the rule changes, they're kind of bringing some of the physicality back in. I just think the way the roster is constructed, dude, the roster is not constructed for long-term success. Like, the roster is a good roster with the stars when you get to the playoffs. The problem is you got to get there. This is not a roster that's built to sustain the marathon of the regular season to get to the playoffs. And then once you get to the playoffs, then it's like, you know, it's still kind of a marathon, but it's more like you kind of speed up a little bit, you know? So the roster is not constructed for long-term, like throughout the season success, dude. Like, a lot of people blame Westbrook and everything. Well, yeah, Westbrook plays the same game as LeBron. He just plays at a faster pace. And he's really not as good of a shooter. So when you're bringing in a player that plays, has LeBron ever had to play with a player exactly like himself? The answer is no. There's a reason for that. That's why he picks his teammates. He's always had, you know, sharpshooters, veterans, everything like that. Now, the problem is some of these veterans that he's bringing in, they're a lot like they're his age. When you see them losing games to like the Oklahoma City Thunder, when you see them losing to like the Kings, dude, those are younger teams. Those are just, you know, younger teams that can run up and down the floor for 48 minutes, and LeBron's team can't just because they're older and they don't want to do that. So,
yeah, I think it's also like just an adjustment. Like, anytime you bring a bunch of new great pieces together, there's going to be an adjustment period. That's just truth. That's just how it works. There's going to be a time where players they just need time to adjust. We saw it with the 2010 Miami Heat. Like, that team took maybe, I think, 2/3 of the season to really get in a groove. Like you don't just, here's the thing. People think you just put great players with each other and the chemistry is going to be there day one, or the chemistry is going to take like 2 weeks to get together. No, especially considering the fact that LeBron James has been out for a while and he's going to be out for like a little bit longer. So this team the reality is this team's not going to gear up and probably get, you know, any semblance of chemistry probably until like the All-Star break, if at the earliest. Like that's the reality of the situation, and that's what everyone is prepared for. That's what Lakers fans should be prepared for. Russell Westbrook, has he had a lot of turnovers? Yes. Has he had games where he hasn't been playing well? Yes, because he's adjusting to playing with the pieces around him. Great players adjust. And I think it's too early to judge whether or not Russell Westbrook is good for this offense or Russell Westbrook is good for this team, because we still have the majority of the season to play. Like, let's be honest, Andrew, basketball doesn't get real until the All-Star break. Like, we can be happy about our teams doing it. I'm elated that the Cavs are 9-6. Do I think it's going to last? Absolutely not. But I'm elated about it. Do I think going into the All-Star break they're still going to be in like third place in the Eastern Conference? No. But that's the reality of the game. The All-Star break really kind of separates out the really good teams from the bad teams. And anyway, we all know the NBA doesn't start until football is over anyway.
And Golden State actually looks like they're going to sustain that shit. Golden State.
Well, yeah, because they're only going to get better. They're only going to get better.
Months ago? I think I don't know. I think I was saying a few weeks ago, like, Golden State's going to make the finals this year, dude. Like, that whole Phoenix shit, that was cute. Golden State's going to, once they get their guys back, Wiseman.
Once they get Clay back, even if Clay is like at 70% of what he used to be, oh, it's going to be hard to touch that team.
The ultimate plug and play player, dude. Like, if there's one player where you add him to your team and your team instantly gets better, it's Klay Thompson, dude. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He plays. Okay.
So given that, like, indulge me for a second. Given that, the Warriors right now are 12-2, currently in first place in the Western Conference. A lot of people, including you and myself included, we picked this team as a potential Western Conference champion going and representing the Western Conference in the finals. Are the Warriors, as it stands now, the best team in the West?
They're not just the best team in the West, dude. This is the best team in the NBA, dude. Stephen Curry is balling the fuck out. And the end is I don't really see how teams are gonna stop them, dude. Like, this is kind of how like their first run started, where, like, you know, a lot of people kind of counted them out. Like, we saw Steph doing numbers, but everyone was all like, oh, it won't last in the playoffs. Well, guess what? We've seen Steph in the playoffs already. They're going to get Clay back, and the scary part is these young guys that are studs like Jordan Poole, the Gary Payton's kid, and Wiseman and Kuminga, like they're gonna get that playoff experience and everything, dude. And this team might be here for the long haul. Like even after, the next 4, 5, 6 years and everything, as Steph gets older, with those other talented players that they have around Steph that are gonna grow and step into those roles, Golden State's in a very good spot, not just for today, but for the future too, dude.
Golden State is probably one of those teams that's just set up for success, like for at least the next 3 years. This is going to be a title contender for the next 3 years because they still have Steph in his prime. They still have Klay Thompson if he can get, again, up to 70% of what he used to be. I think that puts his team over the edge as far as being the best in the West. We have Wiseman developing. You have Wiggins, doing his thing. He doesn't have to be. Wiggins can score 18 points a game. That's all they need him to do. That is all they require from him. That is his role. He's filling the Harrison Barnes role. He's filling the old Harrison Barnes role on that team.
But he's better than Harrison Barnes.
He's a better scorer than Harrison Barnes, definitely. I think the only question for this team is there if the Lakers figure it out. I think that's the only real question for this team. If the Lakers somehow, by the end of the year, figure out how to optimize playing with each other. Because we can say whether or not they're going to have the chemistry or whatever, but if this team figures it out, with all the talent they have, they're going to give the Warriors a massive run for their money. Like those be the top two teams. I know people, and I get it, but I know there's a lot of people who want to make the argument that, this is the year Luka ascends or whatever. And I'm like, it's possible. It's possible this could be the year that Luka ascends, maybe past the first round finally. And again, I'm Andrew, you know me, I'm one of the biggest Luka Doncic fans there is. But man, like Luka, honestly, like the Mavs themselves are not a threat with the current way their roster is constructed and the way they play with each other. Like the Suns,
playing better.
I mean, but even the Suns, man, like they're good. They're really good. They are a really good team. But is it really enough? The Nuggets, can they get healthy? Like Jokic, we know what Jokic is. He's a baller. But again, it's kind of like the same thing. Can they get healthy? Can they maintain their success in the playoffs? We haven't seen it. The only team I'm ready to crown in the West, for lack of a better phrase, are the Warriors. I think they're the most complete team, and we know what their outlook is. Again, if Klay Thompson comes back at 70% of what he was at before all the injuries, rest assured, this team is still the best in the West.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much, you highlighted it all perfectly. Like, I don't know with the whole LeBron point, though, with the whole Lakers coming on, because even if the Lakers do, like I said, dude, they're not really built. They're built for that, but I don't think the Lakers are necessarily going to get to that point. And, with these injuries that LeBron's been having and everything like that, like these are injuries that LeBron would sustain and he'd be playing the next day. Like LeBron sustaining these injuries and he's missing weeks. Like it's not, the Lakers are going to need a lot more help. And I don't see, unless a potential Damian Lillard trade, which I don't even know if they can make that. I don't see any type of like help that could be on the way to help the Lakers. Now I don't
know either, but you know what I do know, Andrew? If you guys want to help combat these fucking trolls, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Daily videos on pro wrestling, the NFL, the NBA, and much, much more. Andrew, here's a question that is almost tailor-made for you because we were talking about it beforehand. Curvin Abreu in the chat. What's up, Curvin? Curvin asks, the new NBA rules expose James Harden. And a lot of people would say that is true. But I think, in your opinion, they would also expose another James. So let's hear what you have to say. What do you think about how the new NBA rules are going and how different players fit into them?
I love the fact, are you referring to the physicality rules and how they're like not calling those ticky-tack fouls, now they're kind of letting them play now? I love it, number one, because this is how the game should be. The game, it should you have to put physicality in. When you allow for too much of finesse, now you're taking away an aspect of the game that has existed, and it's kind of been a neutralizer. And as much as they want offense to be up, they want like the scoring and everything to be up. That's that's cool and everything like that, the scoring. But I like this brand of basketball. Like, when not just me, there's a lot of people who like this brand of basketball. It evens it out. And you know what it does too? You have the next like wave of players that are coming in, right? So, you have guys that are dominating like Giannis. Even with the rule change, Giannis is still going to dominate. He's built different, right? Guys like Zion, they're just built different. But if you call those ticky-tack fouls and everything like that, dude, you basically make those players unstoppable. So now what you're doing is you're at least allowing defenses some way to at least, push them back a little bit and give them some resistance. So these guys are not, you don't have Zion, 300-pound Zion getting a free pass to the basket because you're not allowed to put a hand on him. Like, it's different. And I know what you were alluding to. Yes, I do think that these rule changes, I speculated about this on Twitter the other day, that with the rule change, how they're going back to more of a 90s, more physical style of play. I don't know. I'm just saying, given the timing of when the rules changed, and now all of a sudden, they changed it to be more of a softer game around the early 2000s when a certain someone left and a certain someone came in. Now all of a sudden there's a certain someone, he's on his last legs, kind of on the way out, another slowly going back to the 90s game. I'm just saying, I think some of these rule changes might have been there to potentially try to help one particular individual to bolster his career and make it a little bit easier for him to catch the ghost that he was chasing, that he never actually.
I love how you've just alluded to like the LeBron-anon conspiracy theory, like that the NBA literally rigged LeBron's entire career in his favor.
Oh yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Why? Like, dude, come on, they did not. LeBron, like, at some point, you gotta admit LeBron is talented.
He is talented, but I do think that taking the physicality out of the game to benefit him. For example, a lot of people, maybe I just noticed this because I critique everything about LeBron James.
You do.
Why was hand checking taken out of the game, yet LeBron in like the 2016, 2017, and 2018 playoffs is allowed to hand check guys with no foul, but guys are not allowed to put a hand on him? I'm just saying.
I mean, you can say that the refs have definitely been a problem with inconsistencies in that rule and the way they implement it. Yeah, but I don't think that's. But see, that's the thing. If you're gonna call that out against the NBA, but don't call it out against LeBron. But my whole thing with like the LeBron haters, right? I feel like a lot of it is rooted in this idea, like in ideas that people perpetuate. Like, people don't like it when LeBron stands, or people who don't like LeBron, they don't like it when LeBron stands talk about how great LeBron is in any way, because it becomes almost a black and white issue, like binary, one or all or nothing. You either gotta love LeBron completely or you gotta hate the dude. When in reality, LeBron is a generational athlete, an all-time great, and I think everyone can agree to that. To the degree some people say he's top 3, some people say he's top 5, whatever, right? I mean, look, it's all subjective anyway. Like, you could say that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest of all time, and I'd agree with you because I think he is, but that's a story for another day. I do think that people get lost in this binary way of thinking, because if you in any way criticize LeBron, like I've said that LeBron, yeah, dude, the game is softer because of LeBron. That's just a fact. I think everyone can agree to that, because there hasn't been a player, there wasn't a player up until LeBron got there in his position, in like as far as in a position of power, to almost, I guess, not even beg, but really blatantly, desire those types of calls, like in big moments, like really petty calls, flopping, all that kind of stuff, staying on the ground for like 10 minutes because you got like scratches in the face. Like
Oh, you mean
he's
into your own man and act like you just got shot and roll around on the ground and grab your face? That you're talking about?
that the Academy Award winning ways of LeBron James. Like the game is worse off for that because I think now a lot of players have looked to that as how you play the game. It's another way to play the game, and I don't necessarily like that, which is why I like these rules. But then on the other hand, like people are like, oh man, LeBron, he only went to X amount, he only went to like, what is it, like 8 finals, and he only won 3 of them. I'm like, dude, he went to all those finals. First of all, he carried the Cavs. He carried the Cavs to 5 finals. 5 finals. Only won 1 of them, but he carried that team to 5 finals, 4 in a row. Don't care what anyone says. That was a feat, especially in that last year. Every team he's been on has almost been perennially in the contendership for a finals or in the finals almost every year. And that is something that you know, in at least the era in the past like maybe 30, 40 years, we haven't seen. Like, we have not seen that level of dominance over the game. And what I don't like is when the LeBron people, you know, they don't recognize the impact he's got in the game. But then on the other side, the haters say everything good he's done is nullified because LeBron is LeBron, you know?
Oh, no, I'm not nullifying anything. Like, what he's done is what he's done. I'm just saying, you know, given how the game was tailor-made for him to succeed, you almost had to expect more. Like, only 3. He couldn't go 500 in those finals. The game was tailor-made for his style of play, where yes, ticky-tack fouls. So you're a bully ball type player. So now you get the benefit of the doubt because you're a bully ball player in an era where most players can't play bully ball because they're not built like that. So we're essentially bending the rule, or not bending, we're changing the rules to benefit you. And he still didn't win. Like, he won, but he didn't win to the capacity that he should have.
I guess we'll have a great debate when Johnny returns. We'll have the great LeBron debate because I feel like I'm going to save all these points for Johnny because you made some solid points. But stay tuned for that. So make sure you don't miss that. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Get DUI free title match. Oh my God. Okay. Wow. Dirk Nowitzki took down the big 3 in Miami. That he did. Like that Dallas team was tough.
Yes, he did. With a bunch of old men.
With a bunch of old ass men.
Really, dude.
Well, you know who are not a bunch of old ass men, Andrew? The New York Nets. Although you could make the argument that some of them are pretty old and pretty ass men. Anyway, let's move on and talk about the New York? No, the Brooklyn Nets. That's what they are. The Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn. Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Right here they are. And they are currently in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference. The Brooklyn Nets currently in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference. They are without one of their key pieces, have been without one of their key pieces in Kyrie Irving. And I think we're kind of seeing a little bit of an impact with that. They played the Warriors the other night, and they didn't look like they were all together. And right now, I think you can make the argument that this is not a team that can win an NBA Finals. I think that's like, this is just not that team. My question to you, Andrew, is how far can the Nets go without Kyrie Irving?
2nd round, depending on matchups, maybe 1st. I'm serious. Depending on matchups,
why
maybe
do you say
first.
that?
Because if they fuck around and they fall low enough, and then they got to play Milwaukee in the 1st round, they're getting bounced without Kyrie. Dude, it's getting bad over there. Like, I understand the Warriors are beating everybody, but you know it's getting pretty bad. Like, James Harden is 75% of what he was. KD is carrying that team. They don't have the supporting cast. Like, LaMarcus Aldridge, he is not the same LMA that he was a couple years ago. Blake Griffin, you know, he has shown flashes of being the old Blake Griffin, but even then, you know, he's not the skywalking Blake Griffin that he once was that could play bully ball. They need Kyrie to come off the bench. I mean, not even come off the bench. They need Kyrie to suit up, and I don't see that ending anytime soon. Without Kyrie, they're screwed, dude. they are at the point like they're on DEFCON 3, dude. At this point, they're better off just having Steve Nash suit up and fucking play point guard for them.
You think Steve Nash would do that?
I used to think that with the Knicks with Derek Fisher. I'm like, honestly, the Knicks were so bad and Derek Fisher was our coach. I'm like, we'd be better with him fucking on the court than him on the sidelines, honestly. And the Nets might be too.
Yeah, I mean, I think like it you know, and without stating the reason why, because that gets everyone in trouble with everyone. Kyrie Irving hasn't been there, and we're kind of seeing what this team is like without one of its most crucial pieces. That's the reality of the situation. This Brooklyn Nets team was constructed to win with KD and Kyrie Irving. They added James Harden, but that was the crux. The main ingredients of this, big, I guess, dinner, this amazing dinner that made this casserole of excellence that they made up in Brooklyn was Kyrie Irving and KD. And then you get the sugar, spice, James Harden, and a little bit of other people. But it was mainly those two ingredients, and one of the main ingredients is not there. You can't make, like Andrew, you know this as well as anyone. You can't make you can't make a chicken salad with chicken shit. Because right now, that's what you have comparatively to what you would have had with Kyrie in the lineup. Like, no disrespect to any of the players over there in New York playing point guard, but it's just not the same. They can't fill the shoes. This team was constructed to win with Kyrie. Him not being here, it puts them in a much more detrimental position than they were originally. That's just the truth of the situation. They are not going to win they're not going to win the East. At this point, the Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks have a better chance of winning, quote Charlie Sheen, winning and going on to the NBA Finals. I think they could legitimately compete given how kind of weak and inconsistent the East is right now. And the Brooklyn Nets with Kyrie, I think they would have been the team. It would have been not even close because they would have had so much. James Harden, KD, whatever the hell Blake Griffin is, able to get rebounds and score inside, and Kyrie. That is too much. And they would have finally had time to play together. It just seems like every single time this team is like on the pinnacle, on the path to victory, on the path to winning, one of these pieces is just not available. And I know you and I both we're kind of tired of Stephen A. Smith, but one thing I think you and I can both agree, for whatever reason, it's true. Kyrie Irving has not been there for a while. And it just doesn't just have to do with this season. Go back to last season. Go back to the season before that. He's just not there. And at some point, you got to be at some point, KD's got to factor Kyrie out of his plans. Like whether when he's up for free agency or whatever, he's got to factor him out of his plans. You got to think.
All I can really have to say to that is, this is karma, dude. It's karma. He went to the Nets instead of the Knicks. That's KD's karma. And the Nets' karma is leaving New Jersey. That's all I got to say.
It's not like you were a New Jersey Nets fan. Why are you mad at the Nets for leaving New Jersey?
I was never a New Jersey Nets fan. It's just I'm upset when I'll talk to kids that were born after 2005. And they will, they claim to be the basketball fans, apparently. These kids in high school right now, a lot of them don't even know that, the New Jersey Nets used to be a thing. We used to have a team here, and now we don't.
They used to have a killer logo, too.
Dude, that logo was hard. I'm not going to lie, dude. And it's not even these kids that are in high school now, dude, 4, 5 short years before these kids were born, 2000, 2001, 2000, the Nets were in the finals. The New Jersey Nets were good. When they had Jason Kidd, they were Eastern Conference Finals, NBA Finals. And then they stopped selling out and had to go. Well, they stopped selling out, so they sold out and went to Brooklyn. See what I did there?
They sold out indeed. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Let's move on back to the NFL. Last few topics here. Back to the NFL we go. Andrew, are the Pats back? Right now, New England.
You finish.
You should know how I do my intros to topics by now. Andrew, are the Pats back? Right now, the New England Patriots are half a game back behind the Buffalo Bills for first place in the AFC East. They have turned around very quickly from 2-4 now, and they are have now, I believe, won I believe it's their fifth or sixth game. Anyway, they're on a tear. Bill Belichick is doing great. Andrew, what has been the key to this renaissance, this resurrection almost of the New England Patriots this season?
Well, number one has been their defense. They have a very good defense. Number two has been, they got the quarterback, dude. New England has operated, Mac Jones is a system quarterback, and the New England system fits him perfectly. A lot of people have said, number one, Mac Jones is the prime guy to go to New England because he's a system quarterback, reminds a lot of people of Brady, and he doesn't really make mistakes. He's a game-managing quarterback, doesn't have the biggest arm, but he can get the job done, and he's showing it. And he has shown flashes where, he's thrown balls in tight windows, and he's impressed among the rookies. So that's why I most likely I think New England is back. Yes. Do I think they're going to win the division? That's still up in the air, depending on if Buffalo wants to decide they want to be a good football team again. They beat up on the Jets this past week, but I mean that 9-6 loss to Jacksonville was bad. I mean, come on, dude. Come on. 6 points against Jacksonville, dude. Come on.
6 points against Jackson. Although I will say this, the score of the game, Andrew, was pretty nice, if I may say so myself. Pretty nice.
Yeah. So I do think New England is back. I do think New England will be a playoff team. That's another one, dude. That's a big, tough, physical team to go along with a game managing quarterback. They will run it. They like to spread it around. But I mean, all in all, I do think New England is back. Do I think they're going to make a playoff push? Fucking Ryan Clark's out here talking about, they're going to win the Super Bowl. I wouldn't go that far. But they might.
They could. Like here's the thing. They could. Like it's not out of the realm of possibility that Bill Belichick could coach a team to the Super Bowl. Damn it, we've seen it damn near 9 times in his career. Granted, he had Tom Brady. But
he can get to the wild card game. He might be able to pull an upset, depending on that. He might be able to pull an upset. Okay, but we all know this year.
Name one team in the AFC they can't beat.
The playoffs run through Nashville. So there is that. I'm just telling you.
Okay. Other than the Titans, they can. No. Let's.
Bill Belichick loss came again. I'm just saying.
This must be exactly like New York Mets radio right now. Just, no. Let me talk. I'm fucking talking here. Anyway, but no. In all reality, like if you look at it, there aren't that many teams they can't beat. They could beat Baltimore. I'm willing to say that. They could beat Baltimore. They could beat Kansas City.
Quarterback, so.
Yeah, they could beat Kansas City. They could definitely beat the Raiders. They could beat the Broncos. They could beat the Chargers. There's not a team, an elite team in the AFC that this team can't beat. So why can't they make a Super Bowl? They're playing amazing defense. Bill Belichick invested more money in contracts this past offseason than he's ever done in any year previous. You know why? Because I think, Andrew, he was finally sick of it. Bill Belichick was finally sick of people saying that it was Tom, not Bill. When the reality of the situation is, it was both, which is why I never understood that whole narrative. Like, yeah, sure, Tom Brady, you know what? He silenced a lot of his doubters last year when he went off and won that Super Bowl with the Bucs because the narrative stayed the same. Tom Brady wins low. But now Bill Belichick, I think, is out to prove that the narrative is still the same with him. Bill Belichick wins low. And I think, like, this is his answer. I think anyone who says like that didn't motivate, and it's not even Brady himself. I think the talk of Brady being better than Belichick or the secret and being more responsible, I think it was legitimately that said, let me go show these punks what I'm made of. And he did. And he's coaching this team's success. He adjusted. Like, that is the biggest thing you can say about this team. They started off 2-4. It looked like they were in a rebuilding year, and they adjusted, Andrew. They got better. They're rattling off wins, and they look like a team that's going to run the ball down your throat, win off of play action, play smash mouth, punch you in the face old school defense. And you alluded to it in a previous segment. The NFL looks like they're turning the clock back a few years. They're turning it back to the 2000s with this smash mouth style of football, and I love it. And there's no one better at that style of football than Bill Belichick right now.
Listen, dude, the formula to win, the very simple formula to win. Very simple formula to win. I'm not even going to say it's a very simple formula, but it's the formula to win. The formula to win is in the NFL, dude. You have a good defense. You have a good offensive line. I don't give a fuck who your quarterback is. You can win football games. You can make the playoffs. Okay. They have that. The Patriots have that. They have a good defense. They have a good O-line. Mac Jones, nice clean pocket every time he throws. And they're a run first offense anyway. That's why Odell didn't want to go there, because Odell wants to be all about Odell. Odell wants the ball to go to him every single play until it does, and it ends up getting picked. We're not going to talk about that. So that's why I give the Patriots a chance. Until they touch down in Nashville, because
you might be the biggest homer I know. You genuinely might be the biggest homer I know.
Nah, dude, this season is how 2008 was supposed to go. Now the only thing that could derail us, I'm serious. If a dumbass, when we go to Pittsburgh, because I've seen this before, if we go to Pittsburgh and Kevin Byard or one of them decides to take that fucking ball rag they got called the terrible towel and decides to fuck with it, because the terrible towel curse is real. Okay,
it's real. Actually, no. The Ravens are immune to that curse.
Everybody else, though, if we fuck with that towel, we will never win another game again. Vrabel will get fired. Derrick Henry will never come back. Tannehill will tear his ACL doing one of his finger rolls. And
you can bring back Marcus Mariota.
I would love that. Save him from the Raiders. Save him.
Free Marcus Mariota, man. That man can still play. Andrew, anyway, let's get to our last official segment, and then I'll just let you rant for a little bit about Tyreek Hill. Let's get to our final segment. The college football playoff revealed their top 25 teams, and it was an interesting ride here. Let's read. Oh, it wasn't there. Anyway, Andrew, the college football playoff revealed their top 25 teams. Here are the top 5 rankings here. Georgia at number 1, Alabama at number 2, Oregon at number 3, Ohio State at number 4, Cincinnati at number 5. We've seen a few teams fall off. Oklahoma, of course, with their loss this week, Boomer Sooner fell down all the way down to 13. Doesn't look like they're getting this bid this year. Right now, it looks like the real teams that are alive right now are those top 4 teams, actually the top 5 teams, including Cincinnati, and maybe Michigan is if one of the top 5 falls off. But other than that, I think we've kind of gotten it down to at least a top 6 of potential playoff contenders. But what do you think of this list? What do you like about it? Is it right? Go off.
You know what? I complain about the first one. I'm not going to complain about where Cincinnati is. I do think Cincinnati will get in. They should get in. I think they're good enough to compete with those teams. Alabama being number 2. They did have that, that rough win against LSU, but then they came back. They won the game they should have won this past weekend. Georgia's defense is fucking that team. That team coming into this past weekend was averaging, that defense was averaging giving up 6 points per game. They gave up 10. It was a little bit over what they're averaging, but still, I think they're still only giving up like 7 or 8 points on the season. That defense is fucking insane. Oregon's losing this weekend because they got my sleeper, Utah. Utah's been good to me in the betting world. I will tell you every week, bet the house on Utah, especially this week. I think it's at Utah too. Oregon's going down. And then Ohio State. This whole Michigan and Ohio State thing right there, that's going to be decided this weekend. I think Michigan plays Ohio State. That's going to be decided this weekend. One of those 2 teams getting knocked out. And don't sleep on Notre Dame. Do not sleep on Notre Dame.
You remember a few weeks ago you came on the show and said bet the house on Dallas, and then they got clobbered by the Broncos? I just want everyone out there who's a betting person to know that there's a curse that comes with Andrew's predictions. They always go wrong. But no,
Hold up. Was that game in Jerry World?
Yeah.
See, I fucked up. That's why. Because Jerry World is more of a home field for the away team than it is for the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys do wear their away jerseys when they're at Jerry World, but I don't have necessarily a problem with this ranking. The the one thing I will say is I'm a staunch believer that at this point Cincinnati has proven themselves until they lose. They have proven themselves to be a top 4 team. They should be at number 4. I think they should be above Oregon. I think the order actually should be Georgia, Alabama, Cincinnati, Ohio State. I don't think Oregon should be in the top 4, but subjective.
It's fucked up. The only reason Oregon is there at all is because Oregon has that head-to-head win against Ohio State, and there's that Big Ten bias with Ohio State. So,
yeah.
But when Oregon falls this weekend, because Oregon's losing this weekend at Utah, I have the Kyle Whittingham. I believe in Kyle Whittingham. That's one of like my favorite teams in college football. Utah, the running Utes. I love those jerseys too. That red on black combo they have, one of the nicest. Red and black are just two colors that go together. And on that Utah jersey, I like it. That's what I'm actually picking that upset. And then Cincinnati's going to move up. And once they move up, that's it. They're not going to get bounced until, unless they lose. Cause I don't see them losing out unless they play Houston in the AAC championship game. That's the only time. But if they win out, they're in.
Absolutely. I think, I mean, again, it's going to be difficult though. Because I feel like even if Cincinnati wins out, if everything stays the course, if Oregon doesn't lose, if Ohio State doesn't lose, what do you do? Like, I mean, I think I know what you and I would do. You'd put Cincinnati in because they're undefeated and they're so close. You got to put them in. But do you think the committee will do that?
Well, you know what? There's another factor that you also have to factor this one in too, right? What if Alabama loses to Georgia in the SEC championship?
Yeah, that's true too.
That's a 2-loss Alabama team because everyone loves Alabama. They're not letting a 2-loss Alabama in. They didn't let a 2-loss Big Ten champion.
I don't know, man. The SEC bias is strong. That loss might move Alabama down to number 4, but it damn sure won't move them down to number 5.
I don't know. It's if all that stuff, then yeah, then Cincinnati's going to get fucked over. I don't want to see Cincinnati get fucked over. Cincinnati's got some studs on the defensive side of the football. They've shown they can play with those big time teams. That's kind of why I do as much. It's fucked up because the kid who's the quarterback at Oregon, literally he went to SJV school, like in my area, like he's from Jersey. But I really want to see Cincinnati make that playoff, dude, just because like this is the year. And if Cincinnati makes the playoff this year, even if they lose in the playoff, I know everyone's going to say you can never let another group of 5 team in ever again to the playoff if Cincinnati doesn't perform well. Well, what happens if Cincinnati gets in there and let's say they win a game? What happens if Cincinnati gets in there against Georgia and it's a close game? Either they lose close or they knock off Georgia. That just opens up the door if they don't expand this playoff in the near future, because they probably won't. It'll get expanded 3 or 4 or 5 years from now. But that opens up the door for the next undefeated Power 5 champion to get in over one of those undefeated teams, because it will show that those Power 5 teams can in fact compete. You see BYU's up there too, dude. BYU is a 1-loss team up there. They're, what are they, 13 or 14 or something like that? That opens up the door potentially for them next year to, where's BYU? 14. That opens up the door for BYU next year to potentially, if they go undefeated, to get in over a 1-loss Michigan or a 1-loss. It opens up the door for them. This is big. Cincinnati getting in is a big deal. And I think they will. I want them to.
If Cincinnati wins out and Alabama loses and they don't get a top 4 bid, it will be the worst snubbing of a college football team in the playoffs ever since I think it was the 2009 Boise State Broncos, coached by Chris Peterson, quarterback by Kellen Moore, the greatest college football quarterback of all time. Fight me. It will be the biggest snubbing in college football since then, because that team, by the way, went 14-0. That Boise State Broncos team went 14-0, beat TCU in the Fiesta Bowl. And you know what they finished, Andrew? You know what they finished even with that Fiesta Bowl win? 4. The college football bias should be the CFB. The college football bias runs deep. Expand the damn playoffs. Also, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Andrew, Tyreek Hill is the greatest receiver in the NFL.
Fuck up. No, he's not. Tyreek
Go
Hill did
off.
a Good Morning Football this morning, dude. They were pulling up his damn stats. They had his stats up there for the last couple of years, and they were comparing his stats to the career stats of Calvin Johnson, the career stats of Randy Moss, the career stats of fucking for San Francisco 49ers. Great, one of the greatest wideouts ever.
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice,
Jerry
dude.
Rice.
Yeah, name wasn't coming to me, dude. Listen, Tyreek Hill's story is a great story. Went to Oklahoma State, was a running back, got kicked out, had to go to Middle Alabama or Alabama State, one of those schools. He was a 4th or 5th round pick. That is all great, okay? I'm just saying that segment that they did this morning on Good Morning Football, I don't know who authorized it, and I'm telling you, if Nate Burleson was still on the show, Good Morning Football, he would not have allowed for the blatant disrespect of Calvin Johnson, okay? As much as Tyreek Hill does put up big time numbers, as much as they call him cheetah, as much as though he's not your conventional type of wide receiver, he's undersized, but he's really fast. He gives defenses nightmares. He might keep defensive coordinators up at night and everything like that. Okay. When you're comparing him to Calvin Johnson, you have to ask yourself this. Yes, he puts up, these types of numbers similar to what Calvin Johnson put up. Okay. Ask yourself this. Calvin Johnson played for the most dysfunctional franchise probably in all of sports, the most dysfunctional franchise in all of sports. And he was the lone bright spot for the Detroit Lions. If you take prime Calvin Johnson and you swap him out with current Tyreek Hill, not only do the Kansas City Chiefs get better, but if you swap him and you put current Tyreek Hill in on those Lions teams all those years, those Lions teams actually get worse. So as much as the Tyreek Hill story is great and he's been putting up these monster numbers and everything like that, Calvin Johnson played with Matt Stafford, how many different coaches, and he played for the Detroit Lions over all those years. Tyreek Hill got to play with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So I don't want to hear anybody ever put Tyreek Hill in the same type of sentence or even in the same stratosphere as Calvin Johnson. Because when it's all said and done, yes, he might have better numbers. But if you were to ask, any GM, any coach, anybody, would you take Calvin Johnson over Tyreek Hill? I think every single one of them would tell you, oh, no, I would take Megatron over Tyreek Hill in a heartbeat.
Here's the thing. I agree with you for a different reason. My biggest problem with the segment or the comparison between Calvin Johnson and Tyreek Hill is that they're two completely different players. They're two completely different kinds of players. Calvin Johnson was 6'5", absolute behemoth of a man who's going to go up there and get the ball. Tyreek Hill got hops. He's got great hops. He's faster than Calvin Johnson ever was. I definitely give him that. He's definitely faster than Calvin Johnson. He might be one of the best. He might be one of the fastest players fastest wide receivers rather in football history. I'm giving him his props. But where people get it wrong about Tyreek Hill in this comparison, I think we get lost. We get lost in the comparisons we like to make as fans, where you start comparing things that don't really go together. Calvin Johnson, Tyreek Hill, two completely different wide receivers. If you want to compare them career-wise, that's a totally different conversation. But player-wise, not even close. The real comparison for Tyreek Hill, you could probably say is someone like Deshaun Jackson, or I've always said this. I think I even said this to you today. Tyreek Hill is what people thought Tavon Austin was. Like a shorter receiver who's going to go up and get the ball and be a playmaker. And Tyreek Hill, I think, look, if you want to say, oh, he's the next this, he's the next that. No, Tyreek Hill is the first Tyreek Hill. There hasn't really been a player of his size to have the ability and the speed and all the things combined that he's had. And that's worth it. That's worth to note. And you're right about what you said, though. He's also had the luxury of playing with Alex Smith and Andy Reid. Had the pleasure of playing with Patrick Mahomes, and there's no shortage of passes coming his way. So there's that. But I mean, I also believe that he's got the impeccable ability, right? The comparison of the Calvin Johnson is just utterly asinine.
Calvin Johnson was asked to carry that entire Lions franchise on his back, which he did do. Essentially, he didn't win a playoff game. Yeah, you know what? Who the fuck would with that team? He got them to the playoffs. to this day, I think, doesn't he hold the single season all-time receiving record?
Yeah,
He
Cooper
almost
Kupp's on
broke
pace to
down
break
this
that.
season.
But yeah, he holds it for now. But good old Cooper Kupp down in LA. He's on pace.
The Cooper Kupp thing is another one that annoys me. But
dude, come on, 11 catches, 122 yards this past week. Come on.
That's but what did it amount to? Empty stats.
Fair. Anything else you want to complain about?
No, I got the Tyreek Hill thing off my chest. It's just, when I see a segment like that, I'm like, come on, like, get better than that. I get it. Like, you compare the numbers and everything like that. That's fine and dandy. But did Calvin Johnson ever play with a secondary receiver the caliber of Travis Kelce? Like, don't get me wrong. Stafford's cool, but Stafford's not Mahomes. And any coach that Calvin Johnson ever played with is not Andy Reid.
Not offensively, although Jim Schwartz, man, got to give Jim Schwartz his props. He's a defensive guru.
The number one. Jim Schwartz is the reason why we're going to win the whole thing, dude. He's the reason why our defense is the way it is right now. Oh yeah, you know what? I want to do another final take. The Tennessee Titans we've suited up 80 players, dude. 80 players this year, dude. Statistically speaking, we've had the hardest schedule with the most players on IR. Statistically speaking, that shouldn't happen. You know what that is? That's big old Vrabes. That's Mike Vrabel.
First of all, hold up. Most players on IR, my G, most players on IR. By far, most players on IR. By far. We lead the league in.
We are literally taking corners off the street and being like, here's a uniform.
Do you know what our running back situation was going into week 1?
Do you know what our situation is now?
Do you know what our secondary situation is? We lost 3 starters in the secondary throughout the season. My G. We lost it. Continue.
So do we, dude. No, so do we, dude. Dude, Christian Fulton just came off IR. Caleb Farley's gone for the year. We had some Maben dude starting. We had Breon Borders. We literally signed Breon Borders and then cut him the next week. We've had we just put our backup's backup corner is the fucking dude. What's his name? Jackson, Chris Jackson, dude. Like he got lit up this past weekend, and I think he was injured too. So, dude, our secondary situation has been ass, dude. We were missing Tier Tart. Like we've had guys just cycling. Where Bud Dupree just went down again. Bud Dupree's done. I don't know how long he's coming back. What else? Julio has been in and out. AJ Brown apparently thought about killing himself a year ago. So I think we have definitely had to deal with the most adversity. And the fact that our team is the number 1 team currently in the NFL or in the AFC, but in the NFL, according to the power rankings, just goes to show, dude, that is culture. That's why you have to set a culture. You got to draft players that are willing to play your style of football, set a damn culture, give a coach a chance. So, like, we were talking about Saleh at the beginning of the show, dude. The Jets are already talking about, like, they're running him out of town. Give the guy a chance. Instead of drafting 4 offensive players and expecting him to make it work with some fucking, 6th and 7th round defensive players, let him draft 4 or 5 defensive players, guys that can legitimately step in and make that defense better. And then, you could go spend money on some offensive weapons. You have Zach Wilson, they paid Corey Davis already. They drafted the kid Moore. So you have that in place. Go draft a defensive tackle, a defensive end, a corner, draft players like that in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rounds. And then go from there and let him work. But don't write the guy off because he inherited a very fucking bad roster. And he's not performing. He's won games. He's already won games. I was at one of the games that he won. It's traumatic, but I was there. So.
Utterly traumatic. We went full circle today. Andrew, to quote the great Bruce Allen, the culture is actually damn good. And that's what we're all about here at Real Take Sports. The culture. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Real Take Sports Talk. Instagram, Real Take Sports Talk. Real Take Sports on Twitter, all that jazz. Check out realtakesports.com as well. Until next time, everyone, for Andrew, I'm Omer. Keep it real.